Showtime.
It's about that time.
Let's go.
You're right where you need to be. This is GCOM Radio.
Hardest radio station on the planet. Yeah.
Powered by Lyfeblood.com.
We certified.
And hosted by Nova Phoenix.
Give them that flavor.
Observe a defense mechanism. Why jump to defendism? Let feelings become possessed. Discern what the ego says. Is your sense of self outside of yourself? Check the bank of false imaginary wealth. Wherever I will grow is exactly where I'll go. I won't doubt if I don't know. Burned that bay leaf moons ago. I have always loved you. It's so good to finally learn how. There's nothing I need to escape now, to avoid now. Oh, no. It was so hard to remember why to allow these loving reunion, sweet communion with myself. Do you recall as I held you as you held your guitar, singing as you do, the space within and in between, the days done, lay it down to dream. Do you remember the first time truth and music came together in a rhyme? We lost touch, the world defined us. Even now our name is behind us. It's both the major, the minor. Within the divider is our reminder that I have always loved you. It's so good to finally learn how. There's nothing I need to escape now, to avoid now. Oh, no. It was so hard to remember why to allow these loving reunion, sweet communion with myself.
On the #1 podcast platform in the world, GCOM Radio on iHeartRadio.
All right, we are here for another episode. Yes, this is Nova Phoenix on GCOM Radio, on iHeartRadio, and you just listened to Maya Elena featuring Lee Coulter, Remember to Remember. See, there's a little story about this. As I said before in the last episode, when I've been checking out artists lately, especially, I listen to all music, and with white artists, I recently just started checking to see if they say anything about BLM or the protests or anything like that, because as you listened to the show last week, sometimes you hear all this what's going on, and you have this drive to say something on your social media accounts. They're the extension of you. But some people don't have that drive, and they just continuing with their selfies and all that. So I've been checking out. I'm like, yo, my logic was, wait a second, if you're not going to say something when half the world is burning, why should I even support you if you can't even show support for black folk? So this is where Maya Elena came in. So I was scrolling through his page, her profile, and I didn't see nothing. I saw one or two things, but I don't know. I don't know what headspace I was in. I just felt like, wait a second, she's not. And I was digging the whole vibe, the energy that was coming from the profile. And she's very nice from her page, but sometimes it's not about just connecting with the niceness. Sometimes it's like, okay, what are you about? What's your thing? Do you have substance? Do you have weight behind your music, or not just behind your music, but you as a person? So I didn't see it, and I was like, what? So I think I saw something closely related to it, and I said something crazy reckless on there on her profile, and she responded. She was like, yo, why are you getting at me? Pretty much in a nutshell. Well, this is what I do. No. I'm like, oh, she's been to a protest. Oh, she kind of supports it. Oh, and I had to put my foot in my mouth. I was like, damn. I feel like an idiot. I feel like an idiot. All right, look, let me see if I can smooth this out and extend a fig leaf. And I was like, all right, let me play your joints. Let me play your music. And I did not hear anything. And I was like, damn. After the fact, I was like, damn, I don't even know if this music is going to be any good. Because, on the show, when you listen to GCOM Radio, you don't listen to no suspect music. You may have a song that you kind of not like, but it's never going to be trash. I'm not going to put any trash music on the show. You're playing footsies with the music. You're doing it part-time. This is a hobby, and you're just tinkering with it on the weekends. No. I only mess with real musicians, real artists that have dope music, that have the full package, their look, music, everything. I don't care if you have 5,000 followers or if you have 50 followers. If your music is dope and I connect with it, I'm going to play it on the show. So I didn't know if her music was going to be any good. And I'm like, all right. So when I actually listened to it, I was like, oh, man, this is all right. This is pretty cool. And, from her page, she's earthy, and, she's into, yoga and all that. So a very earthy woman, as some people may say, oh, she's, what do you call it? Oh, she's a hippie. I don't really care. If you are who you are. But I was like, is she any good? But it turns out that her music is good, so I like to shout her out. Remember to Remember, that's her song with Coulter. So go and check it out on Apple Music and any other streaming platforms, and enjoy it, man. So I'm looking forward to hearing some more from her and what she's got going on over there on the other side of the United States. I think she's from Seattle, I think. So my bad if I didn't get that right, Elena. So what's going on with the opening? So as time has been going on in the United States, and this is old news by the time this is playing at this very moment, Kamala Harris is the vice president to Joe Biden. Am I excited? Not really. I'm not really excited. I'm not doing it. And I said my piece on social media, and the person was like, no, you got to give her a chance. She's the first black woman. I don't really care. If you listen to this show, you know who I am. I don't really care about first. At this point in 2020, in the last 50 years of politics in this country, let's say in the last 16 years or 14 years in this country, I am not enthused whatsoever. I don't care. You're the first black man, black woman, gay person, midget, teacup Yorkie, first shark spliced human being. or you could be the first Tibetan, you could be the first paraplegic, quadriplegic, the first person with autism. I don't care none about that first. I don't care about no symbolisms, happy symbolisms. I don't care no about that. I care more about justice. I care more about setting this country back on the right course or where it should be going. And it's not going great. Everybody knows that it's not going great. And I was watching since Obama, and I already knew beforehand, but definitely it solidified in my mind during the 8 years Obama was in. Presidency is more than just one man. And it is something that needs to be done in this country to get us back on the right track. And we got to keep the pressure on. I'm not laughing. I'm not cheering. I'm not throwing the confetti in the air. I'm not high-fiving any women or any black women. I'm not doing any of that. This is a time where you roll up your sleeves and get the work going. It doesn't matter if it's no time to breathe a sigh of relief. No, none about that. We got to go hard. We're going to go hard against this dude Trump, or the man. Well, I hate saying his name. It gives me the skeevies. And we're going to go hard even with Biden, because I'm not too psyched on Biden either. I'm not too psyched on Biden. All right. The dude is going through his own mental lapses in his old age. And I can't believe they brought this guy out here. You know what I mean? As far as the representative of the Democratic Party, as the guy that's going against Donald Trump. And I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be an easy win. But then Corona happened, and all this happened with the protests and then people marching through the streets. So the scales have tipped and the fortunes have changed. So even with Biden in there and Kamala right behind him, I'm still saying go hard. Go hard. And it reminds me of way back when there was an article that was written, and when I remember when Obama said, what he said, go out. What did he say? I remember, and I kind of wrote it down here. I remember him saying, go out and make me do it as president. It's just not. He meant to say, just don't rely on me and what I can do as president of the United States, but you as citizens of America have to put me to the test, have to put my feet to the fire. You have to show me you want change. And there's a lot of different ways you can ask for change or demand change of what's happening. So he said, I quote, "You see, our predecessors understood that government could not and should not solve every problem. They understand that there are instances where the gains in security from government action are not worth the added constraints on our freedom. But they also understood that the danger of too much government is matched by the perils of too little. That without the leavening hand of wise policy, markets can crash, monopolies can stifle competition, the vulnerable can be exploited," unquote. That was said by President Barack Obama at the time. And the writer of this article, Peter Dreyer, actually the article was written in the Huff Post. He said, but he understands now that winning a victory on healthcare reform will require more than just good ideas and inside the beltway maneuvering with Congress. It will require a mass movement with a moral message. Wink, wink. What do you think is going on now? Voter mobilization, marches, prayer vigils. I don't know about that. Stories of everyday people damaged by insurance industry practices, testimony by doctors and nurses frustrated by the insurance companies' priorities of profits over patients, and media savvy. And this was, the whole article was him talking about the task that President Obama had to take on with passing the American Care Act, and all the challenges that he was going through to get that going and materializing that. And it was just not the American Care Act, but Obama's whole 2 terms as president that he was facing a wall from Congress. He was constantly dealing with the protests or objections, I should say, from the Republican side, and he always was trying to have some sort of bipartisan agreement, but he couldn't get that. And it was a lot of times it just made him, for lack of a better word, a lame duck on trying to do anything presidential in this country. And it was a little bit, a portion of it, I do not blame him, but it's just how Republicans go. and the politics of the system. So that's what we need right now. That's what's happening. Even with Kamala Harris in there and Joe Biden, hoping that they get in there. So we're not really sure at this point because we're still dealing with a whole lot of mess that Trump is doing. But if and when they do get in there, and I'm saying, let me back up and say, not if, when they get in there, it's just not just breathing like, oh, right, we have a black woman VP that's also East Indian and from a mother's side, and we have Joe Biden, that's the previous Vice President Obama. Oh my God, it's fine. No. We got to keep our foots on their neck. And we got to demand change. We got to demand justice. We got to demand what we want. And that means it's going as far as protesting, marching, bringing back the Poor People's March right on Washington, just like how it happened several weeks ago in front of the White House. That needs to happen. Demands need to be set. And when they're not met, we got to bring down the fire and brimstone because people want change. People want action. People want justice. And that's what we're going to get. So, as far as speaking about the problems that we're dealing with, as far as the presidential voting or the vote for president is going to happen in November, Trump is doing some conniving, despicable shit. And this dude is cutting funding from the United States Postal Service. And actually, there's a picture that I shared on my social media where you have a mountain load of mailboxes that's just piled up. And obviously, he's doing it trying to stop people from voting, doing mail-in voting. And because he's not going to get in the fairway, so he's got to cheat. And that's something that's always been a part of his life, even as a businessman, on cheating. The only way he's going to get a chance of being president again is by cheating. So there are people that were protesting down there in Washington, the general postmaster. I think it was the general postmaster, right? Down in D.C. Let me see here. Let me get the general postmaster. Let's see if I get that right. The Postmaster General. Sorry, I reversed it. So people were actually protesting, a crowd over protesting in front of outside of the USPS Postmaster General's home in D.C. So we got to, as I say, we got to keep our foot on their neck, man, all the way. Don't stop. Keep going. Protest. Raise your fucking fists in the air, and we're gonna do this. All right, and not just, as I said before, not just to get this effery out of, you know what I'm talking about. This, I'm trying to find a word for this cat. Sometimes I get emotional and I trip up on my words. Trying to get this cat out of office, Voldemort, but also keeping our foot on their neck when we have the next people who's gonna stroll up in their thing. It's gonna be business as usual, and they're expecting for people to think that things are going to be business as usual, and they expect people to just be calm and relaxed and go back to doing the same thing because that's what they want. Okay, people, time to go back to work. We don't have that old meanie in the office anymore. No. Don't think you're getting off that easy. Okay, everybody knows who Andrew Yang is. He's a former U.S. presidential candidate, and he's still making his voice heard, and in this case, with a 4-day work week. Now, it says that the Microsoft subsidiary, I forgot the name of the company, is trying it in Japan, and another company, Perpetual Guardian in New Zealand, is trying it as well. Now, as I said before, and it's funny that this article came up because, of course, last week I spoke about changing the idea of what work is. And maybe this is one possible way where we can change the idea of what work is. Shortening the work week. Technology is getting better. It's making our days more efficient in whatever that we're doing. And I think it's time to consider shortening our work time, 40 hours a week to 30 hours or to 25. And as I said before, people get most of their work done in 5 hours. Why don't people just come into work, do their 5 hours and skate? And they can do whatever they want, go to the doctor, pick up their kids, do whatever they need to do in order to make their quality of life for their families better or for themselves. So that'll be interesting to see how that is going to turn out. Hey, maybe there should be some follow-up to this Microsoft company in Japan to see how it's really turning out. And also that company in New Zealand. Okay, we'll see about that. We'll see how that goes. There was something else that was coming up too, man. What was it? Oh, yeah, this is in relation to that. It's funny. So it's funny how in this other article they were talking about, and I think it was in the, not the Washington Post. It was in the Wall Street Journal. I think it was in the Wall Street Journal. They were talking about how, companies are having an issue with people doing the virtual learning. They think it's not productive. Employees are not kind of gelling with each other, and some other blah 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 nonsense. And I read a little bit of the article, and I had a conversation about this, and I'm like, what are you talking about? There's a problem. I don't see what the problem is, because you're still getting work done. You're still talking to people. You're facing each other. It's over long distances. And I had to think about it. I was like, what ways can an employee that's working from home virtually can have a problem with work? Main thing that's happening right now during this pandemic, you got kids staying at home. Okay, now I get it. You got kids staying at home. How there was this meme that I saw, this dude that was on his computer. This dude that was on a computer trying to type, and all he was hearing in the background was this kid screaming, and he was just getting frustrated and like, damn, and kept on looking back. And it's like, damn, them kids can't shut they can't shut the hell up. Now that's one of the main problems that we got with virtual learning, and that's what I'm assuming here. Of course, you're not going to have an efficient time working from home virtually if you got one or more kids that don't know what they're going to do with themselves, and all they're doing is screaming. Now, if you had the kids weren't there, of course it would work out. You know who else gets affected? Sometimes when I read articles, I always think of, okay, what's the ulterior motive here? Who's forcing this writer to write this in such a way? Now think about it. If office virtual, at-home virtual office operations continue, and it becomes standard, and not because of this pandemic, who stands to lose? Think about it. Who stands to lose if more people do their work at home? Yes, the real estate market, all that commercial space. So then you'll have a company like IBM that half the staff can work from home. All of a sudden, IBM is going to say, wait a second, we're doing pretty all right. If half the staff is working from home, or they have their home offices, why do I need all this workspace? So when their lease is up, now they're going to try to look to, of course, downsize. And if they can't get it in that building they were in before, they're going to start looking around for smaller spaces. Who stands to lose? All that vast open commercial space that was meant for big mega corporations. Now, let me tell you, I told you before with Tesla. I told you before, once they figure out how to save dollars and cents with battery powered vehicles for their business, they are off to the races. Once companies figure out that virtual at work operations does not slow down work in any way, they are going to downsize the office. They'll find a fancy word for it, like how banks are now. They have this, they'll send it to their marketing team. Okay, what slick words can we use to give the new banking experience without tellers? It's the same way where you're going to have these mega corporations going to say, okay, what's a new slick way where we can PR this for smaller office space, the new work experience? Yeah, man. So who knows who's talking to who at the Wall Street Journal, if that's where the article was coming from. The boss came down and said, hey, man, write this. Write, do me a favor, write this, and because it's just not right. It's not working. Who knows what's happening, right? So, okay, what's going on? What else is going on? They have the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Reboot is coming to streaming. That's a pleasant surprise. I've been watching old shows of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and, nostalgia. And it's crazy, man, seeing young Will and all the other actors that were in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. But now they're going to do a reboot. So it's going to be interesting are they going to follow the line of taking someone that's a hip hop artist that has that funny bone and they could really kind of, bring that energy across the television screen. That'll be interesting if they're going to pick a rap for that. I don't know who they can pick. I would pick one person. I think he would be great for it. Tyler, the Creator. Let's see if he has acting chops, though. I think he has great presence. He has a funny, quirky vibe to him. Let's see if he can really carry that over into the TV world. We'll see. I can't think of anybody else right now. I don't know. I can't think of anybody right now. Young, could pull it off. The only person that came to mind was Tyler, the Creator for me. I don't know. Yeah, all right. So, yeah. What else is going on? Hey, man. Last bit of news. A species of frog in the Brazilian rainforest, the first known amphibian, has 2 loyal mates in its little corner of the rainforest. Scientists just discovered that this particular frog is polygamous. Wow, check that out. And he's like, no, well, why are you bringing that up for? I'm just saying. I don't know why I'm bringing that up. I'm just saying. I think that's a good piece of news to share with y'all. That animals, they do this. Now, of course, animals can, mate for life. And then there are animals that have, multiple partners. Now look at that. And I just found that interesting when I was reading, not to say that I would do it, but yeah, that's interesting. Now, like as I always said, if we can be cool with gay marriage, why we can't be cool with multiple partners? And that's people's business. That's grown folk business. If they want to do that. And I'm not saying just for men, but also for women. It's up to them. Just saying. Okay. I'm going to get into the first couple new artists for the show. As you already heard, Maya Elena. So we're going to bring in Warner Alexander with Black Tux. He got a hot joint there off of his project that he's got out. And also we have Jazzy Shavers with her song Kingdom. And she reminds me of one particular artist. I can't remember right now, but when we come back, I will let you know. So Warner Alexander with Black Tux and Jazzy Shavers with her song Kingdom. Okay? We'll be back.
All right, kids, I want you to gather around close now. I want to tell you something very, very special.
Black don't crack, thanks ancestors. The whip came black on black, that's the Tesla. The deal don't fit my price, I reject it. Black tux to complement complexion. My skin is a blessing, I'm black and it's cool. Perception a weapon, I'm sharp as a tool. Her nappy is tangled, break combs when it's pulled. What you label a nigga, I'll show you the truth. Don't call me a killer, royal descent, the blood of a king. Can't call me a thief, so we reap, you stole from a chief. Can't call me a thug, you planted the drugs in communities. Polygamous on her block to imprison the way we think. Don't call me a bum, America now is because of me. Can't call me a liar, history lies on the page with ink. You call me a nigga, why? Cause the melanin in my genes has proof for some generations that black is the fucking king. I'm black and it's special, I love me some food. Jump high if I wanna, in sports I'm that dude. My closet is pricey, I love me some shoes. If I wear it, the price will double, I made it look cool. Why the fuck do you hate us? If anything, you should love us. Cause my skin is a different color. For many generations, my people not only suffer, but manage to show restraint, not to murder you motherfuckers. Black don't crack, thanks ancestors. The whip came black on black, that's the Tesla. The deal don't fit my price, I reject it. Black tux to complement complexion.
Do not stop. We are black people and we shouldn't have to feel like this. We shouldn't have to protest because y'all are treating us wrong. We do this because we need to have rights. It's a shame that our fathers and mothers are It's a shame that we have to go to that graveyard and bury them. And we have tears, and we shouldn't have tears.
Oh man,
Check this out.
we're going in with another one.
It's on.
GCOM Radio.
Lover, I see you all the time. Lover, I can't get you off my mind. Oh no, I really wanna be the one. You rush to after work. I really wanna be the one. You always think of first. Tell me, can I bring my heart to your kingdom? When can I bring my heart to your kingdom? Lover, I could kiss your wounds. Have you feeling chills in summer? Dreaming in afternoon. I really wanna be the one you think of all the time. I'm gonna be the one you give until there isn't left to give, and I can give you mine. So can I bring my heart to your kingdom? When can I bring my heart to your kingdom? Soldier of love, powerful sapient, gift from above. Won't you offer your heart up?
This is GCOM Radio, powered by Lyfeblood.com. Come join, be a lifer. Practice dollar power and build financial independence.
Yeah, man, that was Warner Alexander with Black Tux off of his project Language, and that was Jazzy Shavers with her song Kingdom. So check out those two artists on their profiles, download their music. And then Jazzy Shavers, I was like, yo, who does she sound like? And she's, to me, a dead ringer as far as her octave. Dead ringer from Mel LaRue. Man, they're in the same. Oh man, it's exactly the same. If you didn't say Jazzy Shavers and you just heard the song, you're like, oh, that sounds like Mel LaRue. I'm telling you. Play her and play Mel LaRue side by side. Uncanny. All right, so what do we got going for? Oh yeah, but before we continue, we got to get into business of the week. All right, check this out.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Bringing you the business of the week and its innovative founders. It's what you've been waiting for.
We all need to communicate with one another. It's something humans have been doing since the first picture was scratched on a cave hundreds of thousands of years ago. Now we communicate through the air at a price. We've been working with a number of household name telecommunication companies like AT&T, Verizon, and more. Sometimes it works for us and sometimes it doesn't. Do you hear me now? Yes, a saying said so much it has become the brand slogan on those recognizable commercials. Besides what we know and use, do we know of any other companies that can give us a good price? TessexWireless.com. Created by C. Moncrief in 2018, she found a market for millennials that struggle to pay excessive rates and fees. starting with 2 plans that give unlimited phone services that name brand telecommunication companies provide. She is the only African American and woman-led prepaid wireless carrier in these United States. Not just that, but Tessix also offers a smartphone and Bluetooth audio glasses. Lyfeblood.com would like to salute Tessix Wireless for offering an alternative to the typical companies that we use when chatting with family and friends. Let's start by picking up a phone and dialing. Yeah, man. So, all right. What we got going for this segment? So, yeah. Now, I didn't know what to say about this dude. And I wish. 3 wishes. Wish I could speak to this dude, Akon, one-on-one. But everybody knows what Akon said. All right, so he's on VladTV and he was saying that black people got to get over slavery, right? Of course, that's going to be, it's going to just reverberate through the hip-hop community, the black community, and it's going to be like, what are you talking about, Akon? Certain people were having a field day with this. I'm like, what is Akon talking about? All right. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's saying we should get over it, and African people on the continent are not so hung up on it, and and he tried to say because of the history and not having their language taken away from them, their culture, all those things, and there can be holding on to the past, and there's this energy, this angst, this anger, this stress that black Americans are holding on to, African Americans are holding on to in America. And that's not what Africans on the continent go through, because they have all those things intact. So he says they kind of left it behind. I'm like, I don't know, bro. I don't know. Because my thing is, sorry, folks, I always mess this up. I always got to put the timer on. I want to put the timer on to make sure I don't go crazy over schedule. Anyway, so yeah, I'm like, yo, bruh, it's not the transatlantic slave trade is not something to ever get over. You never want to forget about it. I may talk about it in terms of the movies, like, okay, let's do something else, but when it comes to the history in real life, no, you never forget about it. That's a part of African American history. That's a part of American history. And there's so many things, there's so many reasons why black people in America have not gotten over slavery in America or the treatment of black people in America. Let me ask you a question, Akon. Why do you think that is the case? Why do you think that black people still are upset and angry and stressed out because of the transatlantic slave trade and because of the experience of black Americans in this country? I'm going to pose that question to you. Okay. The reason is because not just because the transatlantic slave trade happened and ripped us of our language, our culture, our food, our way of living, everything, and the atrocities that happened during that 400 years, everything that you can think of in the most demonic ways possible that you can inflict this type of pain and suffering on a people, that it still goes on today. Now, and in terms of what happened in that time, but it has transformed, and racism has transformed, a systemic racism has transformed into job equality, into underemployment, financial depression, entrepreneurship, financial disparities, healthcare disparities, the overt racism that black people have to deal with, as what we know with police brutality and everything that's happening that you see on videos on YouTube and those social media, but also the covert racism that lies right underneath, why we call it systemic racism. It permeates through every institution in this country, and black people are negatively affected in the worst ways and continue to this day. That's why we have a racial wealth gap that is so far and wide between white families and black families. And as you get older, you understand that. From the dude in the hood to the cat that's got his MBA, master's degree, and all that other stuff out of an HBCU or any university for that matter. That's why there's a certain level of bitterness with African Americans in this country. That's why we don't get over it. And we haven't gotten over it. It's not like the Jewish Holocaust where 6 million Jews got killed in Germany and the reparations. And that's another thing, reparations, how it gets constantly played back and forth, that it should be something that should be given to African Americans in this country. And how Jewish people have gotten their reparations. 6 million Jews got killed. And yes, there was a rebuilding of their people. So there was some wounds that were healed. But how can you heal a wound that continuously... how can you heal a wound that cannot heal? Let me ask you that. How can you heal a wound that cannot heal because the perpetrator, the aggressor, continues to let the wound stay fresh and open? That's where the bitterness comes from. And then he says the only times when Africans on a continent or thinks about slavery is, he says, I quote, the only time we think about it honestly is when we're doing tours of Goree Island. Goree Island is a place where one of the slave ports were, where Africans were shuttled out across the Atlantic. He said outside of that, people have lived and moved away beyond the slavery concept. That's interesting. Akon, my brother, Africa is still suffering from colonialism. Still suffering. And it works through food shortages, corruption in government, paying unpayable debts to outside countries, growing poverty in several countries in Africa, agricultural issues in Africa. Crime is such a problem in South Africa, as I've read. And correct me if I'm wrong, because, hey, I don't live in a continent. But watching a lot of news, reading a lot of news articles and watching programs on YouTube right from South Africa, and they talk about it constantly. The wealth divide in South Africa. You could literally see where the wealthy white neighborhoods are and the poor black neighborhoods separate. Literally see from space, from a satellite, from a drone, where you have luxury and opulence cross right over Shantytown. Tin huts. So you can't, and that's directly tied to systemic racism, or more in this case, white supremacy. So Africa is dealing with it too. Now, is Africa dealing with it, facing it head on? Is it cognitive dissonance that people on the continent is having? And see, I see what's going on in Africa. I read. I watch the news that's on the continent, and any news that pops up over here in the UK. I read it all, and I want to go to Africa, and and there's a couple of places I'm looking at, a couple of countries where it can set up shop. But I'm not stupid. I'm not romanticizing going back to the continent. I do understand there is a certain level of corruption. There is a certain level of dealing with old colonial masters that's tied indirectly and directly to certain countries. I do understand that. And I may not get a full scope of how deep it's gone, but it is there. It is there. I'm not an idiot to think otherwise. So Africa is dealing with, the Africans on the continent is dealing with the same thing that Africans in America is dealing with. It's the same thing. It's now whether you choose to face it head on or you choose just to ignore it. Okay? And as far as the issues, as far as the African Americans is going to the continent of Africa and they're saying this is divided, Africans don't like black Americans and black Americans don't like Africa. I'm not going to go to the continent and think they're going to they're going to throw open their arms wide open and say, oh, my brother. A lot of them will, I know, but there are others that harbor some sort of bad nature towards Black Americans because of the misinformation that's being fed to the people on the continent. So I understand that, but that's also here too. We also deal with our own issues in America against each other. So I'm sure it's going to happen on the continent. But that's why it's important to start building those bridges so we could get kind of outside forces from getting in between Africans on the continent and Africans in America, and we could come together and see our commonality and say, hey man, brother, our long lost brother, our long lost sister, we're back together again. How can we help each other? But don't ever think that, we're just hung up. We don't know how to leave it behind, and that's what's causing us to get heart attacks and heartache and stressed out and just bitter and just angry and have this negative, this dark cloud over our heads. Nah, bro. And it's funny, he was on the Karen Hunter show. That was an interesting surprise. He was on the Karen Hunter show. Go ahead and check it out on YouTube. And I'm not gonna go into everything because I don't remember everything, but I get the general gist of what he was saying to Karen Hunter. And he didn't clear up the statements because he had an opportunity to clear up what he said on the VladTV show, but he didn't do that. He just doubled down on it. But to me, that's just indicative of a lack of understanding. A lack of understanding of what happens to Black Americans here in this country. And I don't know if it's a lack of understanding or like I said, cognitive dissonance to how deeply entrenched white supremacy is on the continent, but he's just throwing up his hands. Oh no, we don't. It's not the same thing. And then they got into Akon, which that's one thing that we're not gonna agree with each other on everything, but bro, with that Tekashi 6ix9ine thing, and he was he's going for the bag. There's no other way where I can interpret what Akon was saying. It was just going for the bag. He doesn't care what Tekashi 6ix9ine does. All he care about is the money that was given to him by these record labels, and he's saying, okay, how can I take advantage of this opportunity? But I spoke about Akon and Tekashi 6ix9ine back then. Yo, I know you got fuck you money, bro. I know you got fuck you money. You don't have to deal with Tekashi 6ix9ine. This is where you don't understand. It's not all about the money. At a certain point, it's like drawing a line between the culture and the people and the core of hip hop, the hip hop community, and it upsets me. And everything that hip hop is, and the culture vultures, the people that just want to drain the essence out of the culture, the music. And culture vultures can come right from the community because this dude is from Brooklyn. And there's no respect. Can you imagine me going to the continent and totally disrespecting a certain tribe in Nigeria? I'm just getting the bag. Yo, they'd probably run me out the country. If I was just going there for the bag and I'm like, I don't care about the people, they can starve too. The people in Nigeria would more get at me for not being Nigerian and getting the bad, being an opportunist and disrespecting Nigerians in the country than Nigerians that's disrespecting their own people. Because I'm the outsider. I come and set up shop. Of course, Nigerians will get at me first. So Akon, man, and I know you've been raised in this country too. So you it's not like you was just coming from Senegal and you plopped down in America. Nah, bro, you got a taste of Black American culture and going back home to Senegal. So you got the best of both worlds. So I know you could get the understanding of why Black Americans can be bitter with systemic racism and transatlantic slavery. I know you're not that ignorant. You're not that stupid. I know you know the deal. You could break it right down to the last brick. If we building here, we breaking it right down to the last brick. You understand. But you also get in the back too. And that's what I have a problem with. Because he ain't for the culture. He ain't for the people. And him tossing money in the air, and just because, he funny. So I whenever I talk to him, he makes me laugh. What? That's all it takes. It make you laugh for you to do some business. Nah, bro. It ain't that. So I got a problem with Akon. Look, and I wish you could settle this out. And if I were to bump into you, I'm like, yo, I still tell you the same thing I'm telling you on my show. And I still give you love to a certain degree. Because you're making your own choices. But at the same time, bro, not a lot of people going to cut you the same slack. All right, not a lot of people going to cut you the same slack. They're going to be like, yo, you got to raise up out of here, bro. Because you eating off of this hip-hop business. You eating off of all this. And now here it is. This dude is suspect and is in violation of the utmost. But you giving excuses to work with this dude. And you know you can get money anywhere. You're Akon. You can get money anywhere, bro. You could flip that because you establish a name where now it's about making dollars and creating opportunity, whatever is presented to you and the partners that you deal with. Okay, so I know you know how to make it back. You don't have to deal it with this motherfucker. I don't know, Akon. Hey, man. Yeah, brother. All right, so we gonna go into the next topic. I only have 2 segments out of the opening mentions, folks. This show, once again. So we're gonna get into the last segment, and then we're gonna get out of here. All right. So we'll be right back. Oh yeah, the artists that we got going here. What we got going? All right. So we got coming up with 2 artists here that you've heard before on the show. It's Coulter and Madry with Pullin Up, Wassup, and then this Down and Gritty. I wanted something gritty, man, because I got a lot of light stuff here. I need to get a little gritty here, so I'm coming with Savion Saddam with Mud. Coming with that. All right, so Coulter and Madry with Pullin Up, Wassup, and my brother that we played before on the show, Savion Saddam, Mud. All right, we'll be right back.
Ooh, a GCOM exclusive.
Well, you've been away. I was laying here all day. I thought about what it'd be like to be all yours. But you know, I still belong to you. You don't measure up. Me, there's only one. We not meant to be. Don't need you back. You can have it when I'm done. Pullin up, Wassup. Pullin up, Wassup. I'm already on it. On the way, Wassup. Pullin up, Wassup. I'm already on it. On the way, Wassup? And I think you should know I ain't felt this way before. You the type I take it slow. You the dash, you the rain. Hydro, playing me. I know that nigga and I'm not the same. I fumbled it first time round, girl, goddamn. This ain't no game. This ain't no playtime. You got me all lit. Up through the late night. Falling, we do it often. Then I fall asleep and you check my text. Then we fall out, now you hate me. Now it's fuck me, now I hate you. Then we throw away what we been through. Like, yeah. I ain't even gonna lie, tired of getting tired of these bitches. Especially when you on my mind and I only see you in my vision. 2020 vision, you are that I'm missing. Ain't no competition. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. You don't measure up, you don't measure up. Me, there's only one. Ain't I meant to be? Don't need you back. You can have it when I'm done. Pulling up a side, pulling up a side. Pulling up a sub, I'm already on the way, what's up?
Let's start from the beginning.
There's many, but nothing like this internet radio show.
Yeah, beat my frequency.
GCOM Radio.
Y'all know what's up.
Out the mud, my nigga. Straight up. Come on. I done got that out the mud, ho. I done got that out the mud, ho. Watch me get it out the mud, ho. I went and got it out the mud, ho. Started from the bottom, now we at the top. Started from the bottom, now we at the top. Started from the bottom, now we at the top. Started from the bottom, now we at the top. I went and got it out the mud, ho. Nigga wanna kick it, what the fuck for? If it ain't about $1 like Creflo, I ain't tryna hear it, bitch, I'm on that petrol. Cookies and Gorilla Glue. Tryna watch how these killers move. Tryna pay attention who I'm dealing to. And jump up out the streets with a mill or two. I done got it out the mud, ho. With that street money like I'm bankroll. Country bucking, stunting, getting plenty money. Straight from the bonus, bitch, I come from nothing. I done got it out the mud, ho. I done got it out the mud, ho. Watch me get it out the mud, ho. I went and got it out the mud, ho. Started from the bottom, now we at the top. Started from the bottom, now we at the top. Started from the bottom, now we at the top. Started from the bottom, now we at the top. I done got it out the mud, ho. Came up in the streets and shit was cutthroat. If you try to flex, you getting stuck, ho. If you pull it out, you better bust, ho. Send me on the automatic. Ain't send you, I'll let you have it. Trigger happy old country nigga. Niggas talk shit, but they ain't fucking with them. I done got it out the mud, ho. Killed the blue flame, shout out Shorty Low. Country bucking, stunting, spending plenty money. Straight from the bonus, bitch, I come from nothing. I done got it out the mud, ho. I done got it out the mud, ho. Watch me get it out the mud, ho. I went and got it out the mud, ho. Started from the bottom, now we at the top. Started from the bottom, now we at the top. Started from the bottom, now we at the top. Started from the bottom, now we at the top.
Yeah, man, that was Cullen Imagery with Pulling Up What's Up. It's nice to play that brother again. And coming with the gritty, that down dirty Savion Saddam mud. I got to get some new heat from here. I love this dude's flow. For some reason, he reminds me of this rapper. Back in the day, who is it? Here we go. We got how should I say? He was in, oh man, I forgot this dude's name and movie and the guy that was in. Yo, my memory, every time, and this thing comes up, man, it just comes off at the top of the head, and I'm trying to remember it, and now I can't, shoot, I'm typing nonsense right now. When it comes up, I'll say. It was, it was Jim Carrey. And you know that movie where he was, Ace Ventura, right? See, I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer. And there was a rapper in there. Who was in there? You go, Tone Loc. See, I knew I was going to come back. I knew I was going to come back with it. All right, so Samuel will be reminding me of Tone Loc. Not as this deep raspiness like Tone Loc got, but he just got that, I don't know, that vibe. So I think it's dope. I like it. I like what he come with. Yeah, so what we got going on? Okay, so we have the news you need to know. Okay, let's get right to it.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Around the world and right in your neighborhood, it's the news you need to know.
Scientists can turn salt water to drinkable water. There are many nations and organizations trying to figure out how to transform salt water into potable water for ones who most need it. It seems one group has found a way. An Australian team of scientists have created a new way to improve this process by using MOFs, metal organic framework compounds. Together with the use of sunlight, they can purify water in 30 minutes. They've managed to meet the World Health Organization standards for desalination as well. 37 gallons of clean water can be produced using 2.2 pounds of MOF material in early testing. The current method of thermal desalination by evaporation is known to be energy intensive and reverse osmosis with chemical usage in membrane cleaning and dechlorination. With saline water being 97% of water on the planet, there is a vast untapped resource for providing drinkable water to all the people in every country. Judge rules in favor of Uber and Lyft drivers. In a ruling made on Monday, August 10th, a judge ruled the Uber and Lyft drivers were considered employees to these companies. This has been a long-standing fight with companies because it would mean millions in added costs and a complete overhaul of their business model. The judge allowed 10 days to give these companies time to appeal. Quote, "We'll immediately appeal this ruling and continue to fight for drivers' independence," unquote, a Lyft spokesman said. An Uber spokesman said, quote, "We plan to file an immediate emergency appeal on behalf of California drivers," unquote. Drivers have always been contractors, which means they would have to pay for expenses, gas, car maintenance, and insurance, along with health benefits and sick leave that would not be provided. Mark Robinson, a Lyft driver, says, quote, "Today's ruling affirms what California drivers have long known to be true. Workers like me have rights, and Uber and Lyft must respect those rights. These companies will do and spend whatever it takes to avoid protecting drivers or following the law, even if it means pouring tens of millions of dollars into a ballot initiative to buy themselves special treatment. We hope that today's ruling will serve as a potent reminder to California's voters that Uber and Lyft are not above the law," unquote. Now look at that. And that is the news you need to know. Okay, so that was the news you need to know. Isn't that interesting, man? Look, I don't understand how we can have a water shortage, and I'm looking over at the water. I'm looking at the ocean. I look at the ocean every time I come home. I look at the ocean, and I see the vastness of the ocean. And I'm like, how can we be having a water shortage? And we got all this water out here. The earth is like what, 97% water, as I said? Let's show again. How much water is on the earth? Here we go. 71%. 71% of the earth's surface is water covered. So how in the hell can we have a water shortage? Can somebody tell me that? Can someone in the back tell me, how do we have a water shortage in this world? We are mostly covered in water. Salt, yes, but we have the technology where we can desalinate. What is that? What? People always tell me, yo, bruh, you can't be drinking up all the water. All right, all the bottled water. We got water shortages. You can't leave the shower running. You can't leave the sink on. The water, and I'm not saying leave it on all day, but if I'm letting it run for 5 minutes, oh no, we got a water shortage. You can't leave the water running. That's my wife be saying. We can't leave the water. I'm like, wait a second. What are you talking about water shortage? We are on a planet that's made up of mostly water. There is no such thing as a water shortage. And the only reason why you can say we have a water shortage is because we lack the human will to create the technology to take advantage of all the water that's on this planet. Now, I'm not saying certain places, certain companies are draining water reservoirs in other parts of the country in the United States of America. Yeah, that is a problem. There is a documentary that says that. It's draining the water in local communities. However, go to the beach and look out at the horizon. You see that blue mass is just sitting still or it's crashing up on the sands of the shores. Yeah, that's all water, man. And we could desalinate. We can do it. Okay? What we need to do, which is harder, is stop poisoning our goddamn water. That's what we need to do. But hey, that's a whole nother conversation. Plastics. I even hear, where did I hear this from? They were saying that in an African country, I think it was in Ghana, that plastic is a serious problem. Plastic is everywhere. I forgot where I was. Oh yeah, I was watching a YouTube channel. And it was this family that was moving to Ghana. And he said one of the things they hate about Ghana is all the goddamn plastic washing up on the shores. In their sewer ways, whatever you want to call it. Plastic is everywhere. Even microplastics that we can. There was this thing. It was the stupidest thing I've ever heard. There was this this video that I saw, and I think it was in Pittsburgh or it was some U.S. city. And what they wanted to do was, what was it called? The Guinness Book of World Records. They wanted to do a Guinness Book of World Records, most balloons released into the atmosphere. It was like 100,000 balloons. Just YouTube it. YouTube it. World record of balloons released into the air. U.S. city. It'll pop up. So it was the news coverage. You saw all these balloons full of helium just floating off, contained, and then they released it, and you saw this huge cloud of balloons going into the air. And they were cheering, they were having fun, and all that. And I'm like, damn. Now my initial thought was, damn, where those balloons gonna go? Damn, that's a lot of waste. That was the stupidest thing I've ever seen, right? And then you follow up on the article on the video, and the video says what happened. It was messed up. The balloons came down, the wind caught it, brought the balloons down, and it landed in the nearby lake or something like that. And it so happened that there were two men that got lost on the lake, or their boat turned over, and they were calling for help. And because of the balloons that floated back down into the lake, and it was like tons of balloons all over the place, floating on the surface of water, everything. The rescue team could not find the two men that were in the lake, and they ended up drowning. Crazy. Now, on top of that, not just the idiocy of letting these balloons go, and two men end up dying in this nearby lake, but also all that freaking plastic or whatever balloons are made up of is just landed on the lake. A lot of the balloons popped, and all that shit is washed into the ocean. Can you imagine? It was crazy. Google it, people. Google it or YouTube it, and you're like, we just polluting the goddamn ocean. It was the stupidest thing, man. It was stupid. It was asinine. It was ridiculous. Just so you can set some world record on the Guinness Book of World Records with the most balloons released into. It was stupid, man. Oh my God, humans. I love human beings, man, but woo. Sometimes the things they do and I see on TV, I'm like, yo, you can't be serious. Boy, You see why these roaches are going to outlast us. I can see 1,000 years from now, 2,000 years, cities are going to be freaking deteriorated, and nature's going to take over a majority of these cities, and these signs going to be knocked over, and then aliens are going to come out of the air, and they're going to land. And I'm like, damn, they got these structures everywhere. They have buildings everywhere on every inch of this planet. There was a past civilization at one point. What happened? And they're going to analyze it and say, oh, they killed themselves. They either killed themselves through war or through pollution. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. And you know, at the end of the day, the earth is going to continue. The earth is going to purge itself. And then another freaking, animals is going to pop up on this planet probably 500,000 years from now, another million years. And it's going to be another civilization, possibly. A different version of dinosaurs. Remember, dinosaurs were here at one point. That was 1 million years ago, whatever the time frame was. You know what I mean? So, oh man, it's crazy. Humans, it's almost, sometimes it's just like comically depressing. Anyway, so in this last segment, we're going to go into UBI, the UBI topic that we always spoke about. And it's funny that I bumped into this, and I went online and I looked at the website, and I said, let me take some time out to check this thing out. And it was the MGI. It was an article they were talking about that was recently with Melvin Carter, the mayor of St. Paul, Minnesota, is pushing the idea of UBI or people getting monthly checks in order to survive, especially during this pandemic. Because, as I said on the show before, this COVID has exposed us so many things in this society that is horribly wrong. And it only exposed that nerve. And Melvin Carter, the mayor of St. Paul, Minnesota, is pushing forth his idea, especially since the killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis, and a lot of people trying to figure out how we move to a better quality of life within this pandemic, and also the pandemic of racism and all these other things that are inflicting all these other things that black people are exposed to. Not just black people, but every American citizen. And he actually said, we have people in our community, quote, this is what he said, we have people in our community who work 60 hours a week and still scrape by to feed their children and pay their rent. This is what he says. Whole neighborhoods that are in deep poverty and doing the best they can. Sounds familiar to what I said last week, right? People are giving so much to work, or this idea of work, where they're doing 40, 50, 60, 80 hours a week and spending no time to get their life right, to get their family's life right. And they got a bunch of mayors got together, as I said last week, and they started Mayors for a Guaranteed Income. So it turns out, so I went to the site and I said, okay, let me see. So we have a bunch of mayors, about 16 mayors, I think 17. There's the 17th one, most recently, I think. But say is Mayor D. Tubbs, of course, the founder of this program, Stockton, California. He's the mayor of Stockton, California. You have Mayor Ross Baraka of Newark, New Jersey. Mayor Steve Benjamin of Columbia, South Carolina. Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms of Atlanta, Georgia. Mayor Aja Brown, AJA Brown from Compton, California. Mayor Melvin Carter from St. Paul, Minnesota, of course, as I stated earlier. Mayor Jenny Durkin from Seattle, Washington. Mayor Eric Garcetti from Los Angeles, California. Mayor Robert Garcia, Long Beach, California. Mayor Alex Morris from Holyoke, I think that's how you pronounce it, Holyoke, Massachusetts. Mayor Chokwe Lumumba. Sorry, I misspelled it. Now I'm reading it off the list here. Now, Mayor Chokwe Lumumba from Jackson, Mississippi. Shout out to Chokwe. Mayor William Padullo, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Mayor Adrian Perkins is Shreveport, Louisiana. Mayor Satya Rhodes Satya Rhodes Conway from Madison, Wisconsin. Mayor Libby Schaff from Oakland, California. And lastly, Mayor R. Woodwards from Tacoma, Washington. And they all got together to support Mayors for Guaranteed Income, for people to get some sort of monthly income to help them during tough times, especially during COVID, where they're sitting at home and they're just trying to figure out their life. And that money could go towards rent or towards food or towards helping their neighbors. And I think it's a beautiful thing where that's a lot of mayors, man. That's 16 mayors. That's a lot of mayors that you got on board from major cities, mostly major cities that are having a serious problem on how they're going to deal with the inequities that each city is going through, especially Los Angeles with Mayor Eric Garcetti, because they have a huge homeless population, huge. It's not just going to give money to the homeless people, because that's a little bit deeper than that. A lot of them have their own mental issues. So the city has to figure out what are they going to do with the homeless people with mental issues. And that's something that a can that's been kicked down the road for so long and it hasn't been really dealt with. So you just have a whole community of people that's living on the streets of Los Angeles. And it's sad when you go on YouTube and you see what's happening. It's so sad. So, So you had the former Democratic presidential candidate Andrew Yang, him bringing it up when he was running for president, and it's reaching a wider audience, as I said, especially during this pandemic, but it's only making it more prominent. So I'm hoping that this can catch on to other mayors as well around the country. I mean, how can you go wrong with this? I mean, Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf said that COVID-19 has shown a bright hot light on our systemic failures. Oakland has seen more than a doubling in homelessness, and I am terrified that once these eviction moratoriums expire, we will see a homelessness Armageddon. And that's what else is happening in this country, all right? Not just the reduction of the unemployment, they cut it down to $400 from $600, but all the other programs or initiatives that was put together from cities saying they were going to say either defer rent or mortgage or any of these things that was going to help people move through these tough times during pandemic. And so many people have lost their jobs and they're trying to figure out how they're going to make it from 1 month to the next. We have to start thinking outside the box how we're going to deal with the issues that we're dealing with in this country. And I think Mayors for a Guaranteed Income is a great start. It's a great start to give people. Now, they've actually started some pilot programs. And some of the pilot programs in Stockton Economic Empowerment Demonstration in Stockton, California, is Magnolia Mothers Trust, Jackson, Mississippi, Chicago Resilient Families Task Force in Chicago, Illinois, Newark Guaranteed Income Task Force in Newark, New Jersey, Old Fourth Ward Economic Security Task Force in Atlanta, Georgia. And along with all these pilot programs, they're putting together a study to see how they are beneficial for people and poor people in particular in these cities. And I'm looking forward to see these studies and for it to be presented in Congress to say some sort of UBI needs to be enacted. As I said before, this is something that needs to be done now, because in the long run, AI and automation is going to take over, if not all jobs, a good portion of jobs where people are going to be sitting home. They're trying to figure out what they're going to do. But now, especially during this COVID times, we have to figure out how are we going to help people along, pay their bills and for food and rent and all these things. This conversation must be had. And I signed up myself to this program. So I'm looking forward to see if I could talk with the representative from MGI and see how we can start to formulate some sort of a plan. And I say, look, and we can't wait. All right, we could get these folks and all these mayors together from MGI, and we could present it to our halls of Congress, and they're going to do their thing, and they're going to be so much delays and pushbacks, and say where are we going to get the money, and how this is going to take away from other programs, and yada yada yada. All these reasons that's going to only hinder the progress of getting some sort of universal basic income for the people. So that's, I've always said, even with Lyfeblood.com, even if, and we can't wait for the government to say, hey, you know what, that's a good idea, or wait till we get to the precipice to finally get this, this light bulb over our heads and say, well, these 16 mayors are right. I think we could do it through Lyfeblood, where it's got to be self-sustaining. We can't wait for them, because are you going to actually wait till your kid is starving and you're trying to figure out where you're going to get your next meal from? Let's not wait for that and have chaos ensue, and cities are going to be in an uproar, and it's going to be the zombie apocalypse. Let's not wait for that to happen. What we need to do is do it ourselves. And in the meantime, these mayors for guaranteed income can present it to Congress and see what can be done, and to institute some form of a universal basic income. But we could do it now. We could do it now with Lyfeblood.com. All we need to do, all we need to do is set some sort of a trust, if not a trust, some sort of a program that holds this money, and we give it monthly into this, or we can give it, partially funded. We can either start this we can start this program ourselves, where it's self-sustaining, and we can either give on a monthly basis or a little bit every check into this program, and we can fund, and it has to be massive in just some cities across America, states, and this is how it can partially be funded by the people. It's not something that's all on the American government to fund it in some way. We should take responsibility in how we can help others. So, and another thing that they brought up to me, that was just, hey man, we'll deal with it, and these just reasons to try to stop this program from coming to play. They would say, well, not everybody has bank accounts. Okay, granted, we got a lot of homeless people that don't have bank accounts, but are we going to use that as a reason why we're not going to help the other 155 million working class from having some sort of guaranteed income on the monthly basis? Are we going to stop that? No, we'll figure it out when we get there. But for right now, we have a lot of people that are not meeting it, that are not making it through. So I support it, as I said, man. People go to mayors for guaranteed income and check it out for yourself. All right, that's the show, man. That's about it. It feels real short this time around, but it's all good. Not every show has to be 3 hours long. So as I said, go to Lyfeblood.com, become a member, sign up. Whatever passion that you have that you want to start, and of course it's directly related to the MGI program, start it. Save, find other people of like mind, other people that do support you. Build up that network where you can have 2,500 people, 5,000 people in your network, and ask them for a minimum of $1 per month for you, in order for you to help create and help materialize your passion. And that in itself can be a UBI. That in itself can help sustain you, and it could go towards anything. It could go towards your rent. It could go towards food. It could go towards setting up your own community programs in the local communities, for food, for what do you call it? I can't remember. Food pantries. It could go towards anything. That's why I like Lyfeblood.com, because it can stretch in so many ways. Whatever you want to make it, you can make it. It's almost like Green Lantern, man. You can make that as long as you visualize it. Whatever construct that come out of the ring will materialize. And that's the same thing with Lyfeblood.com. Whatever your passion is in you being helped, whatever programs that you want to start within Lyfeblood.com, whatever you wanted to go through, you can make it happen. You can just start it, communicate with each other, build with each other, sit down with each other, hash it out, put that money into the pot. Someone run that and make sure it's done honestly, and that could go towards business, entrepreneurial funding. As I said before, you're dealing with agriculture or dealing with food. Agriculture, of course, I say that because if you want to start your own farm or community farm, that can help fund you. You don't have to go way out in 2 states over. You could do it right here, and it could be vertical farming. You don't have to take whole swaths of city blocks. You can just build vertical farming. It could go in any way you want. So I encourage people to join Lyfeblood.com and make the society that they want. That's how Lyfeblood.com is different from Facebook. It's different from any social media. This is about realizing your own power and materializing your passions with the power that you acknowledge and realize. And I hopefully what you can do is pass that on to the rest of your community, and you can start working together and making it happen. So, I appreciate you guys listening to me. I try to come with new thoughts every time. Sometimes, I'm going to be honest with you, sometimes I could be like delayed and then I have to figure out what the topic is, but I'm trying to be consistent with you guys. I'm a human being. Sometimes I get wrapped up in other stuff, and my apologies. Shout out to all the artists that were on the show, I'd like to shout out Maya Elena and Lee Coulter, the artist that was on there. We'll remember. Warner Alexander, go get his record, Language, on Jazzy Shavers with Kingdom, Colin Madry, and lastly, Savion Saddam. Shout them out. Go to their profiles, man. Let's start supporting each other. All right, so we're out of here. I'll see you guys next week. Much love to you, and we're out of here. All right, peace.
Yo, check it.
You just listened to GCOM Radio, powered by Lyfeblood.com. For the global community.
We worldwide, baby.
See you in the next go-round. From right here to your town, we out.